Hey guys, welcome back to another craft break. I am Bianca, a content creator here at Plaid, and as always, we get together on Wednesdays to do fun Mod Podge projects together. And we will be using Mod Podge, but in addition to that, we will also be playing with a few of our pink folk art colors. We do have a new fun pink set with 5 different colors in them, and I'm going to go through each one so that you guys can go and check them out on plaidonline.com and so that you can use them for your next project. So we're going to switch to our overhead camera, and I want to go through the different colors with you before we start on our project. I want to hold each color that comes in the kit up for you guys. So if I can fit all of them in my hand at once, I will. All right, there we go. So this is called our Best Pink Kit, and it comes with, okay, let's set them down. All right, so it comes with our FolkArt multi-surface satin baby pink, and these are all 2-ounce bottles. It also comes with pastel pink, and this is a FolkArt color shift color. It also comes with sparkling fuchsia, and this is a metallic color. And then our last 2 paints are both glitterific, but the first one is Princess Potion, and this is glitterific pop. And I'll talk about the differences between the 2 of these in just a few minutes. So this is Princess Potion, and then this is hot pink. So these are all of the paints that come in the Best Pink Kit. Again, you can find this on plaidonline.com. So the project that we will be making with a few of these colors are, and let's grab our finished example, which is right behind me. Just a second. We will be making this glam Halloween sign out of one of our plaid surfaces. And we'll also be using our Mod Podge printables and of course Mod Podge. So we will go ahead and we will get started. The first thing you're going to need to complete this project is of course your different paint colors. You will also need your surface. Again, this surface can be found on plaidonline.com. You will also need a Mod Podge printable pattern. You guys can find these on plaidonline.com. We have these for all holidays, seasons, and occasions. We have a bunch of cool patterns and pictures for Halloween. This is the one that I picked out for today's project. I thought that this would go great with the pink colors that we'll be using. You're also going to need Mod Podge. I will be using the matte formula for this project. You're going to need a sanding block, or you can use a lighter or a small torch. And then you will need some letter stencils. And then the last thing you'll need for this project is a paintbrush and a spouncer. And if you don't know what a spouncer is, I will tell you guys in just a few minutes. So we will go ahead and we will get started. So I've already gone ahead and done half of the project, and we will finish this off together. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your Mod Podge printable. This is just regular paper. It does not have to be photo paper, just regular copy paper. So you want to go ahead and print your pattern out, and then you want to cut it to just about the size of your surface. It does not have to be perfect. We'll go around the edges and clean this up once we get further into the project. If your piece of paper is not big enough to cover your surface, you can print it out twice and cut it so that it kind of matches up. And if it doesn't match up, that's totally fine. We're gonna make this look good. So I'm gonna grab some Mod Podge and a paintbrush, and we are going to apply it onto our surface. I'm going to do a light coat, and I'm just going to go over the surface. I always suggest not adding too much because this is just regular copy paper, and you don't want it to oversaturate your paper. You don't want it to start to get soggy, so you want to do a light coat, just enough for your paper to stick onto your surface. right, so if you guys are working on any Mod Podge projects for Halloween at home, we would love to hear about them. Or just Mod Podge projects in general. What's the last thing you guys made with Mod Podge? Let us know. All right, so we have a light coat. And now I'm going to grab my Mod Podge printable and I'm going to lay it down onto my surface. And a tip when you are applying paper to a surface, so that you don't have to cut so many edges, try to line up one edge perfectly with the surface, or even two. That way when you do go around to clean up your edges, you're not having to cut for and clean up for. Hopefully you'll only have to clean up one. So we won't have to go around this one or that one. All right, so we have our first piece of paper down. I'm going to grab my second piece and I'm going to lay that one down too. And this is a pretty busy pattern, so even though it doesn't necessarily match up perfectly, because it is so busy, you can barely tell. So let's try to cover up this the best way that we can. All right, so all right, so we have it pretty covered. I am going to go around it with scissors, and then I am also going to go around it with a sanding block. So let's flip this over. Pressing it down just a little bit. Actually, you know what? We'll just go ahead and we'll start with our sanding block. So I'm just folding the paper over the edges. All right, and so I'm gonna do the sanding block lightly around the edges. So just a light scrub, and that will detach the paper just enough so that you can tear it off. So let's see. So just like that. You don't want to scrub too hard because you might end up tearing the rest of your paper that is laid down on the surface. So you just want to do a light scrub across the edges, and it should fall right off. So that is one side done, and you guys see what I mean about lining it up with the rest of the surface. That way you don't have to worry about cleaning up all four sides of your surface. So I'm going to do the same thing around the arrow here. For our last side, I do have another Mod Podge hack that I use sometimes, and I'm going to show you guys that with the torch, but just a small piece if you would prefer to do that at home. So let's scrub this side off. All right, so we have one more side to get off here, and I have a technique that I like to use a lot. If you don't have a sanding block but you do have a lighter at home, what you can do is try to take off as much excess paper as you can, as close to the edge as you can. You can grab a lighter or a torch, and you can burn your edges, and the flame will get it exact to the edge of your surface. So be careful with this at home. You do want to make sure that you have some water nearby just in case. But you also do want to make sure that you are trimming your paper down just a little bit so that your flame doesn't get so big. So I'm going to flip this over. so that you guys can see what I mean. So that it burned it close to the edge for us, and all I have to do is take my finger and knock off that excess paper. So that is one of my favorite Mod Podge hacks. Again, be safe at home if you do try that. All right, so now that we have our Mod Podge printable applied to our surface, I am going to grab some stenciled letters. And I've already gone ahead and taped them with some painter's tape. I'm going to lay this onto my surface. And so these are just cut out stencil letters. They are individual, which is why I'm using the painter's tape to hold them together. If you do this project at home and your letters don't come out perfect, I think that this is one of those projects where it's okay for it not to be perfect. You kind of want it to look quirky and a little bit imperfect. You know, this is a Halloween sign. It's supposed to look spooky and creepy, so I think that adds a little bit of character. So don't worry about lining them up perfect. You might even want to make them a little crooked on purpose. All right, so before we start painting, I do want to talk about the paint colors that I am using with our Best Pink set. So I am using Baby Pink, which is what I use to cover this part of the surface. And I'll hold this up. So this is almost like a ballet pink. And then I am also using our metallic sparkling fuchsia. So this is what I'm going to be using to add the letters on top of our printable pattern. And then once the letters dry, I'm going to go over them with our Glitterific Hot Pink. For this project, I did not use the Glitterific Pop, but I'm still going to show you guys a finished example of what this looks like on a project. Okay, so I am going to grab a spouncer. If you don't know what a spouncer is, it is this thing here. It's almost like a sponge brush, but it is round. Some do come with a handle. You can find these on platonline.com. It makes it a little bit easier to paint a stencil. You can just kind of dab your surface versus painting it with a paintbrush. And also when you are painting with a stencil, you don't want to overload your spouncer or a paintbrush if that is what you end up using, because that paint could possibly bleed through your stencil and then your letters won't be as neat. So I am just tapping, 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 and then we will pull up our stencil. So at home, before you move on, you do want to let this dry just a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. So we already have our first three letters. I'm going to go ahead and separate our D because I only have one. So I need to use this to finish off our first word here. Again, if you guys have any questions about any products that we are using for this project, let us know. We will try to get them answered.
Yeah, we had one question from Susan. She asked, can you use a makeup sponge instead of a spouncer?
That's actually a great idea. That is actually a great idea. If you have a makeup sponge at home, you should get the same effect.
Yeah, it's a great workaround if you haven't picked up a spouncer yet.
Yeah.
We also have a comment on our YouTube stream.
Okay.
Somebody said, I just wanted to say I've been watching Bianca's lives for weeks, and I love how she breaks down each craft project, making it clear and enjoyable.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you, thank you.
And we had a question, did you make the stencil?
Did I make the stencil? No, I did not make the stencil. But these are easy to find at any craft store. I am using Hello Hobby stencils. But if you do have a cutting machine at home, you could make your own stencil. All right, so we are going to add our last word on here. Alrighty. All right, so another tip when you are painting with a stencil, I like to either use painter's tape or put a little piece of paper underneath my stencils around the edges, because if you're painting, you want to make sure that you are not getting paint outside of the stencil. Sometimes it's hard not to do that, but if you put a little piece of paper up under here, you'll make sure that you aren't getting any paint on the rest of your project. So just another tip that I have learned along the way. All right, so we will finish off here. Again, I am not overloading my brush, and I am lightly tapping. I'm not pressing down too hard, because if there is any excess paint in my spouncer, I don't want it to bleed out and possibly run underneath my stencil. All right. And I am making the letters here crooked on purpose, guys. If you didn't catch what I said earlier, I think it's okay with a project like this for your letters to be a little quirky and imperfect. All right, so we have our letters on. I am going to grab my blow dryer for just a second, and I am going to dry this, and then we're going to go over this with our glitterific paint, and then we'll be done with our project. Well, we'll be one step away from being done with our project, so just a second. All right, so all of our acrylic paints dry pretty fast. So even if you don't have a blow dryer at home, if you wait about 5 or 10 minutes, you should be able to move on to the next step. So I'm gonna grab a smaller paintbrush, and for this project, I am using the Glitterific Hot Pink color. Again, this is a 2-ounce bottle, and this is a glitter acrylic paint. All right, so I am grabbing a smaller paintbrush, and I am just lightly going over each letter. You can add as much as you want to. If you do want full coverage of your letters, you will have to do multiple coats, but I just want to add small accents, so I'm not adding too much. Just lightly going over each letter. If you do decide to use this printable for your project, I think that another cool idea would be to add some pops of glitter to each of your spiders. So just quickly going around. And then the last step that we'll do together is we will lightly go over the entire surface with our sparkling fuchsia color, just to add a little bit of a weathered and a rustic finish. All right, so again, these are just small pops of glitter. That way when my sign is moving or blowing in the wind, you'll see some shine as it moves.
We had a question.
Okay.
Can you use the glitter paint to stencil?
You definitely can use the glitter paint to stencil. If you're going to do it that way without a base coat underneath it, you will have to do multiple coats for full coverage. You won't be able to see the letter fully with one coat, so maybe try 3 or 4 coats. But you definitely can use the glitter paint to stencil. All right, so I think we are good there. I'm gonna go over this with the blow dryer for one more second, and then the last step for this project is to go around the edges and then add a little bit of texture to your sign with our metallic paint. So give me just a second. All right, so I am going to grab one more paintbrush and I'm going to lightly dip it into my sparkling fuchsia metallic paint. And I'm going to tilt my surface and I'm going to lightly go around the edges. So I'm using the tip of my paintbrush to just go around the edges. And I'm adding a little bit of a border around my sign. So I feel like this makes it just a little bit more spooky. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and flip this around. And we'll do one more side here. And again, we have a bunch of different patterns online. You do not have to use the one that I'm using for this project. We do have patterns with traditional fall and Halloween colors. And you don't even have to, you know, make it a Halloween sign. It could just be a fall sign in general. So you guys can play around with all of those different patterns online. All right, so I have added a border around my sign, and then I'm going to take a little bit of this paint off of my brush. Well, actually not a little bit. I'm going to take as much of it off as I can. I barely want any paint left. So see how it's getting lighter and lighter? All right, so then the last thing I'm going to do is lightly go over my sign to just add a little bit of weathering to it. So I just want it to look a little bit weathered and tattered. I don't want this to look perfect. We want it to look scary and spooky, but still glam. All right, so once you finish, your sign should look something like this. And of course you want to let it dry before you actually go to hang it and use it. And if you do intend to use this outside, we do have Mod Podge Outdoor that you can go over this project with to seal it and make sure that it is weatherproof. So I will go ahead and I will hold this up from our front camera so that you guys can see what it looks like. Once you finish, it should look something like this. So I do have some additional projects next to me that I want to show you guys just to give you some extra inspiration for Halloween. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the overhead camera real quick. We'll move the sign out of the way and then we will get out of here. All right, so I did not use this color for our project, but this is the pastel pink. If you guys would like to see what this looks like. This is another color that is included in the Best Pink Folk Art Kit. So this is a color shift color. And this is the pastel pink. I'll set this here. And then I did not use the glitterific pop, but that is what this looks like on a painted surface. And the difference between glitterific and glitterific pop is that the sparkles in the glitterific pop are a little bit bigger. So I'll hold it up close so you guys can see the detail in it. So it has big pieces of glitter in it. And then I'm gonna hold up the glitterific hot pink so that you can see the difference in the two textures. So the glitterific is a little bit more fine and it doesn't have the bigger pieces in it. So this is the Princess Potion. the Glitterific Pop Princess Potion, and this is the Glitterific Hot Pink. So those are our two Glitterific colors. And then this is the sparkling fuchsia that we used. You guys can see it a little bit better on this painted pumpkin. This is a metallic color. So I have these two sitting here. You can see the difference between the color shift and the metallic. And then our last one is the multi-surface satin baby pink. And on this finished project, it has multiple colors on it, but it also has our baby pink on here too. So you guys can see it up underneath the Glitterific Pop color. So these are just multiple ways that you can use this paint. We hope that you guys enjoyed this craft today. We hope that you guys will go and grab this set. If you guys make any Halloween projects or just projects in general, we would love to see them. Make sure that you are using #PlaidCrafts so that we can thumbs up them. And we will see you guys back next week if you guys do not have any questions. And thank you guys, as always, for joining us. See you guys next week.